My name is Emily. I am 33 years old, and I live with my husband, Henry, in a small, quiet house at the edge of town. Our life has always been simple. We were never rich, but we had enough. We cooked dinner together, watched movies on weekends, and talked about our future as if nothing could shake the peace we had built. To everyone around us, we looked like a happy couple who understood each other well. And for a long time, I believed that too. Henry was the kind of husband people admired. He was caring, gentle, and always ready to help. He often said, "Everything I do for you," and I believed him without question. But in the last few months, something in my body began to change. I woke up every morning feeling exhausted, as if I had not slept at all. My head felt heavy, my eyes burned, and even small tasks became difficult. I tried to ignore it, telling myself it was just stress from work, but Henry noticed. He watched me closely at breakfast, and his eyes filled with worry. One evening, he held my hand and said, "Emily, please let me take you to a doctor. I'm really worried about you." He found a new doctor, Dr. Milton, someone he said was the best in the area. The appointment was in a clean, expensive-looking office, the kind you only see in wealthy neighborhoods. Henry stayed beside me the entire time, squeezing my hand gently, whispering that everything would be okay. In the beginning, it felt comforting, safe, like a husband simply wanting to protect his wife. I had no idea that this visit would be the start of something far more complicated than a simple health check. Our daily life used to follow a familiar and comfortable rhythm. Every morning, I left for work at a large company downtown. My job could be stressful at times, full of deadlines and long meetings, but it was steady and predictable. I liked knowing exactly what to expect each day. When I came home in the evenings, Henry was usually there, cooking dinner or waiting for me at the table. He took care of the small things, watering the plants, fixing anything that broke, reminding me to take my vitamins. It made me feel supported, even protected. We were not wealthy, but we had enough to live a peaceful life. We saved money when we could, avoided unnecessary expenses, and dreamed quietly about taking a vacation someday. Henry often talked about money, about saving, investing, planning for the future. He always said, "Let me handle the bills. I want you to feel safe." And I trusted him completely. I never questioned where our money went or how decisions were made. Henry had always seemed so responsible, so calm, so certain about financial matters that it felt natural to let him take care of everything. Looking back, I realized that this trust created a blind spot in my life. Money became a subject I didn't think about, something hidden in a place I never checked. It wasn't secrecy that created the danger, it was my confidence that everything was fine. Even during our peaceful evenings, when Henry talked about protecting our future or how important financial planning was, something inside me felt slightly uneasy, though I couldn't explain why. At the time, I told myself it was just stress from work. I had no idea that the real problem was quietly growing beneath the surface, far away from my awareness and hidden behind the one thing I had always trusted, my husband. The weeks that followed my first visit to Dr. Milton were confusing and unsettling. Even though he told me I was perfectly healthy, the exhaustion in my body grew worse. I woke up tired, moved slowly through the day, and felt as if something inside me was fading. Henry insisted the doctor was right and reminded me that stress could do terrible things to the body. You just need rest, he said. Please don't worry. I tried to believe him. I tried to believe the doctor. But something about the appointment stayed in my mind, especially the strange look on Henry's face right after we left the office. As we stepped into the waiting area, Henry suddenly said, "Emily, wait here. I forgot to ask the doctor something." I sat down and looked toward the half-closed door. I wasn't trying to spy, but the door opened just enough for me to see Henry walk back inside. He didn't say a word. Instead, he reached into his coat pocket, pulled out a white envelope, and handed it to Dr. Milton. The doctor took it quickly and placed it in his desk drawer without looking up. Henry then exited as if nothing had happened, smiling calmly as he said, "Okay, let's go." My stomach tightened. Why would he give the doctor an envelope right after my appointment? Why in secret? When I asked him about it later, he brushed it off. "Emily, it was just a loan," he said. "He's an old acquaintance with financial problems. Don't worry about it." But his voice didn't match his explanation. He avoided eye contact. Something about the story didn't feel right. Still, I tried to push my doubts aside. Henry had always taken care of me. Why would he lie? A few weeks later, the truth began to break through. I was at work when dizziness washed over me. The room went dark, and my head hit the desk. My boss rushed over, frightened. When I told her what had been happening, she looked at me carefully and said, "Emily, this isn't normal. You should see another doctor." Her words echoed in my mind all day. Another doctor. That meant I didn't trust Henry. It meant I didn't trust Dr. Milton. But my fear of the unknown finally became stronger than my fear of upsetting my husband. One evening, Henry was in the shower when his phone buzzed on the table. I normally never touched it, but something pushed me to check. When I looked at the screen, my heart began to pound. The message was from Dr. Milton. "The next payment is due next week. Please don't be late." Payment. Not a loan. Payment. And it wasn't the first message between them, there were many. My hands trembled as realization washed over me. Henry hadn't paid Dr. Milton just once. He had been sending him money again and again. Why? What were they hiding from me? Was my illness real? Was I in danger? Why would my own husband deceive me about something as important as my health? I felt the world tilt beneath my feet. Something was terribly wrong, and money I never asked about, money Henry always controlled, was at the center of it. The next morning, acting on instinct and fear, I went to another doctor in a different town. After running several tests, the doctor sat down with a serious expression and said quietly, "Emily, you are not healthy. You have a neurological condition. It should have been treated a long time ago." My chest tightened as the room grew silent. A year. A full year of worsening symptoms. A year of fear, confusion, and doubt, while my husband paid someone to lie to me. The truth was no longer hidden. It was standing right in front of me, sharper and colder than anything I had ever felt. And the only question echoing in my mind was, why would Henry do this to me? Taking the bus home after receiving my real diagnosis felt like drifting through a dream I never wanted to enter. The doctor's words replayed in my mind over and over, This should have been treated much earlier. I held the papers tightly in my hands, my fingers trembling as if they were trying to hold on to the last pieces of the life I thought I had. The truth was clear now. My husband had paid a doctor to lie to me. He had hidden my illness, delayed my treatment, and allowed my condition to worsen. All while telling me he loved me. All while claiming he was protecting me. Inside my chest, a storm of emotions twisted violently: pain, anger, confusion, and betrayal. Why did he lie to me? Was my life worth less than his fear? Did he think I belonged to him and had no right to the truth about my own body? For years, I trusted Henry with everything, especially money. I never questioned him. I never checked anything. And because of that blind trust, he controlled more than our finances. He controlled my access to the truth. When I opened the door to our house that evening, Henry was in the kitchen preparing dinner. He smiled when he saw me, completely unaware that the world between us had shattered. I walked quietly to the table and placed the medical papers in front of him. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. The truth was written clearly in every line. Henry picked up the papers. His face drained of color. His lips trembled. "Emily, I can explain." "Explain," I said, my voice steady but shaking inside. "Explain why you paid a doctor to lie to me. Explain why you let me suffer. Explain why you made me doubt myself for months." He covered his face with his hands and began to cry. "I was scared," he said through tears. "My mother had the same illness. I watched her get worse and worse. I couldn't go through that again. I couldn't lose you." I stared at him, feeling the room spin. "This wasn't love," I whispered. "This was fear. This was control. You chose what you wanted to believe instead of facing the truth with me." He reached for my hand, but I pulled away. For the first time, I truly saw him, not as the loving husband I believed he was, but as a man who chose lies over honesty, control over trust. I broke down then, crying so hard my whole body shook. I cried for the months I lost, for the pain I endured, for the version of Henry the First now knew was never real. This was the emotional breaking point, the moment I understood that fear, money, and control had silently destroyed the foundation of our marriage. And as I sat there shaking, one thought echoed clearly in my mind. Never let anyone control your health, your finances, or your truth. Leaving the house that night felt like stepping out of a storm and into cold, unfamiliar air. I packed a small suitcase, ignoring Henry's desperate pleas and apologies. His words sounded hollow now, like echoes of a life I no longer believed in. I called Mrs. Darcy, my boss, and when she heard what had happened, she didn't hesitate. "Come stay with me, Emily. You're not alone." Her home became my temporary refuge, a quiet place where I could breathe again. The next days were painful but clear. I filed for divorce. I contacted Dr. Lauren to begin treatment immediately. Every appointment reminded me how dangerously long I had been left untreated, and that knowledge pushed me forward, step by step. In the weeks that followed, I began to rebuild my life from the ground up. For the first time, I learned how to manage my own finances. I opened new accounts, checked every detail, and educated myself about money, something I had avoided for years. I realized how dangerous it had been to hand over all financial control to someone else, even someone I loved. I learned that trust must be balanced with awareness. That understanding money is not greedy, it is necessary. And that transparency, especially in health and finances, is not optional but essential for survival. Life did not become magically easy. There were days when exhaustion from treatment made me want to stay in bed, and nights when loneliness felt heavy. But little by little, strength returned to me. I made choices for myself. I understood my own needs. The peace I began to feel was not bright or joyful, but quiet and steady, like a soft light after a long storm. I was not completely happy, not yet. But I was safe. I was in control. And for the first time in months, I felt awake, aware, and firmly present in my own life. Now I understand that trust must be protected, not blindly given. For so long, I believed that loving someone meant handing them every part of my life, my decisions, my finances, even my health. I see now how dangerous that was. Trust is not a gift you give without limits. It is something you must guard, even in a marriage, even with someone who says they love you. I also learned that sometimes love means seeing the truth, even when the truth cuts deeply. Henry believed he was protecting me by hiding my illness, but real love does not grow in the shadows of fear. Real love faces reality, no matter how frightening it is. And more than anything, I learned that money, when handled without honesty, can destroy the people we love. One hidden payment, one secret debt, one lie disguised as protection, these things can break a life apart. Money itself is not the enemy, but ignorance and secrecy can be. From this experience, I learned the importance of understanding money before it is too late. I learned never to hand someone full control over my life, no matter how close they are. I learned that health, finances, and truth require attention, knowledge, and courage. Facing the truth was painful. Leaving my marriage was painful. But that pain opened a door I desperately needed, a door toward clarity, personal strength, and genuine peace. My life is quieter now, simpler, but it is real. And that, more than anything, is what finally brings me peace. If you liked this story, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for learning English through stories with us, and we hope to see you in the next episode.